got to start over here. But have a repeat guest, the father of all this, the guy who got me started into this podcast, Sergeant First Class Chris Bullis. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm great, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. We were so like deep into our conversation that we forgot we were recording, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were talking about good H2F stuff.
Yeah, the holistic health and fitness space is what we'll talk about before we jump into our main conversation. Is just like the podcast out there, and we were talking about mops and mows.
Yeah.
10,000 downloads in like
Alex is crushing it.
5 episodes. Like Alex and Drew.
Yeah.
Drew Hammond. We can't leave Drew out.
Can't leave Drew out.
We give Alex all the credit. But yeah, that was a great one. And then another one, an Army vet's doing, Fran Rachopi. I do want to mention that, the Jedburgh podcast. He was a 10th group guy. His is just like unbelievable. Like the stuff that he does and with the footage and all like that. Are there any others you're into now?
Well, I've been listening to a lot of Nick Bear. And he's a former infantry officer.
Yeah.
And he started his Bear
the Bear Performance.
Yeah. I think they've been 10 years. But he's actually is probably a pretty good segue into what we came here to talk about. Is he was a pretty big influence in being this like hybrid athlete. Right, like an individual that can like do marathons, or triathlons and stuff like that, and still be able to like lift a lot of heavy weight and move around functionally. So he his podcast is pretty good, and he's got a huge following too.
Yeah, I have not listened to it, but I will now. I just wrote down that name because I remember following him. I think he was still on active duty at Hood, if I remember correctly, when he started doing videos and stuff like that. And then and he went from like kind of being like a bodybuilder to running, and now he's like running crazy distances, right?
Well, he does ultras. I'm not sure. I haven't been following too closely, but I did follow or watched a lot of his Buffalo Marathon prep, because it was kind of like, these are the goals and the things that I'm trying to achieve. So I want to see, like, I mean, I'm not at that level yet. But yeah, it's a lot of really, really good training tips, specifically how to take care of your body through the volume that you have to put yourself through in order to be able to run well for 26.2 miles.
And speaking of that, so the cat's out of the bag, you're running a marathon.
I am, yeah.
What marathon are you running?
So I signed up for the San Antonio Rock and Roll, December 4th.
December 4th, I'm writing it down.
Yep, December 4th. Yeah, and if anybody wants to run with me, come on.
We're looking around the studio.
Let's go.
We got a lot of takers. They're ready to go. I thought about it. I don't know though.
You should definitely do it.
I'm a little scared. I did the the 10K, because they get the 5K 10K day.
Yeah.
The wife and I did it this last year. It was a good event. It was a great.
It's a great event. They do such a good job.
Yeah. No, it was impressive. Like, you're running along, you got music, and so that's cool. But I gotta ask, why a marathon? Why now at? Let me say the age. 40,
38.
38.
Yeah,
38
almost
years
40.
young. Yeah. Why now? Why a marathon?
Well, so obviously I'm always trying to look for ways to improve and continue to perform optimally, or at a even probably higher level. I've like always had these aspirations of being just a little bit better, and then making that like a consistent progression through my life, right? Like I forget who it was, but somebody was just like, hey, if you want to like do well and like be able to move well at like 70, a lot of that prep happens in your 30s. So like you really got to set conditions early in order to perform optimally throughout your years, right? And obviously we're all trying to live a little bit longer and do a little better and have that quality of life at the end be like something inspiring and achievable and stuff like that. So when I was sitting down doing a lot of my own reflections of what I wanted to do for training, I didn't have like a specific goal that I was really driving towards. And I've been listening to a lot of like influencers saying like, you got to have something that you're working towards. You got to have your why. So I was like, all right, well, what can I do in order to establish something in stone that I'm like working towards, like that poster on the wall that I go to the gym and look at, that or in this case that date on the calendar, Like I've got something that I need to be prepared for, and you can't just wake up one morning and run 26.2 miles.
Well, you can. It's just not advised.
No, yeah, that's not good. That's not good.
Yeah.
But I was also like looking at this transition that I'm at right now. Right, I'm getting ready to get out of the Army, and it's terrifying. Like for a lot of veterans that are out there getting ready to transition out, like it's a tough time. And obviously, people tell you like, hey, like life out of the uniform is going to be different, and like the transitions program sets you up and stuff like that. But the mindset and the mentality and everything, it's difficult not to think. It's difficult to think that one day I won't have to put on this uniform every day. So I wanted something that was challenging both physically and mentally, something that I could like not only train my body but also train my mind to be more resilient and more adaptive. So I was like, I'm just gonna run a marathon, because everybody that I know that has run a marathon was like those last like 10 to 6 miles. It's all up here. It's not in your legs. It's not in your lungs. It's all that battle of your mind. So I was like, I think I want that challenge for myself, something to look forward to, and it'll take me through my transition. So I'll be on terminal leave when I run my marathon.
So will it be with like a sweet, like Forrest Gump beard by then?
I don't know.
Or no?
I don't know. I've contemplated that, right? Like everybody thinks about like, hey, when I get out of the Army, I'm just gonna let loose. But I don't know. I don't know that I can pull that look off.
I could see, and even like if you had the mullet to go with it and kind of like blowing in the wind as you're running across San Antonio. I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there. I think that would make for some awesome content.
Okay, all right, I'll consider it. I'll run it by the wife. I'm sure she'll have some opinions.
What? So how's your training changed? Because you're a, would I call you a CrossFit athlete?
Yeah.
Like what? So lifting multiple days a week. How's your training changed now that you're doing a marathon?
So just started. So a lot of what I'm doing now is like the learning and adapting phase. Just trying to listen to my body, trying to figure out what works best. Looking at a lot of different things and kind of implementing small things here and there. But one thing I knew that I needed to do was kind of taper back from a lot of the high intensity interval training that I was going to do, just because I didn't want that excessive strain on my body. So where I'm at right now is focusing mainly on running as the main source of strain on my body, and then supplementing that periodically 2 times a day with some sort of like accessory work, mainly unilateral leg stuff, just to keep the hips and knees and ankles and stuff like that strong and stable.
Twice a week.
Carry.
Are you really doing it 2 times a day or?
No, twice a week.
Okay,
yeah. Did I say twice a day?
I think you said 2 times a day. So I was like, man, that's a lot of volume.
Yeah, no,
okay.
that would not be advised.
Twice a week. So twice a week, unilateral leg stuff.
Yeah, usually on my running rest day, it's something light. I'll go to the gym, single leg deadlifts, some split squats, stuff like that, and then a lot of hip strengthening, thrusters, core work too. You got to make sure that your core is nice and tight to help keep everything in line when you're running.
Is that just so you're just doing lower body twice a week, or are you just lifting twice a week?
Just lifting right now twice a week.
Twice a week.
Yeah.
And then how many days are you running?
So running 5 days a week.
Okay.
But
what did you run before? Like, how was that?
I tried not to run before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't like running.
So this makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
why you
exactly.
run a marathon.
Yes, exactly. I wanted a challenge.
So you went from running 0 days a week to 5 days a week?
Yes.
Okay.
But I was smart about it.
Explain that for people, for the young soldiers listening.
Yeah, so at really any age, you really can't go from nothing to everything in no time, right? So you have to be super smart about it. So you have to get your body used to volume. So I just started my first run of this program was a 10-minute recovery run, like just 10 minutes at just like a casual pace, and my thoughts during that run was just ensuring that I had good form, that I was able to run well, and it was at like a conversational pace, something that my heart rate wasn't going to spike too high at, something that I could keep it low and reasonable, and it was just 10 minutes, and then that was it. And then the next day I did interval training, which was only for 20 minutes, 20-minute interval training where I did 1 minute on, 1 minute off of my race pace, I guess you could say. And then the next day I had a rest day, and then I did recovery runs up until Sunday when I did a 5-miler. But I was running super slow for these recovery runs, and the recovery runs are 3 times a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you following a particular plan?
So Nike Running, their app has tons of really, really good programming for like couch to whatever distance you're going to attempt to run. Most of them are 18-week programs. I started way before the 18-week mark because I knew that, one, I don't like running, so I need to figure out a way to get my body used to that idea, train for the amount of volume that I'm getting ready to put on my body, and then just like to be able to work it into your routine so that you're setting realistic goals for yourself. That sometimes is the hardest thing to do. Like you could say, oh yeah, I'm going to do this thing, and then when it rubs against real life, that there might be some conflict there. So I had to make sure that it fit into my schedule and that it makes it feasible for my routine.
What's your do you have like a target pace time or?
Yeah, so ideally I'd like to run a sub 4,
Okay.
which would be run a 9-minute pace, or sometimes even sub 9. And I think that I've got enough time so that I can accomplish that. And I'm giving myself a lot of grace in the process too, because I don't want to overdo it, but I think at the same time it's a realistic goal to have.
No, I think that's that's kind of like the intro starting like out, right? A lot of folks. What about like with the heat, like right now? Like how are you? Because starting a marathon, training program in San Antonio right now,
Yeah,
is
it's intense.
it's pretty intense. So how are you? Are you just saying, all right, I got to deal with it? Or are you working around it? Like
So in some ways, yes, you just got to deal with it, right? Because it is what it is, and in order for you to get the miles in, you're just gonna have to suck it up because the weather's not going to change, right? Not for you, not for your plan. So that's kind of another interesting part of like the mental battle. Like last Sunday, I had to do a 10K, and it's the first 10K that I've done in years. And I'm in the, we chose to run, and my wife came with me, and we chose to run at the Blue Star Brewery, which for those of you who are familiar with San Antonio, it's a beautiful river trail that takes the San Antonio River south through the city, and you run by all the Spanish missions and stuff like that. Beautiful scenic route. So that's where we chose to run, and I know that I've got to go out 5K and then come back 5K. And when I got to that 5K turnaround point, it was 90 degrees at 8:30. No, it was like more like 9 actually, 9 o'clock on a Sunday, and that's when you got to really start listening to your body, right? Because you don't, it's only 5K, and for some people that's like nothing, but for me at this point, after already running 5K, it's a lot.
yeah, that's still.
Yeah, so then you got to be more in tune with your heart rate, I feel, like controlling your heart rate so that you're not overdoing it, and to ensure that you can continuously run and just kind of like survive, so you're not overheating, overstressing your body. That was what I was focused on at the turnaround point. I get to the turnaround point and I'm like, man, it's hot, and I'm like 90 degrees. Yeah, that's hot.
Confirmed.
Yeah. So I was just like, all right, hey, my idea for this was to run at a 9-minute pace, but with the heat, I obviously don't want to overdo it. And then find myself in a compromised position. And I know huge rookie mistake, but I didn't have water with me. I hydrate well before.
Right.
I'm not an idiot, but I didn't have water with me, and it was hot. But yeah, so I was like, hey, I just have to manage my heart rate. So I was looking and just making sure that I didn't spike over to like 155 was like a ideal spot for me to be in. I felt strong. I felt like I could sustain that pace. And then I noticed, of course, as I'm going up hills, it's like 167. I'm like, all right, cool. I gotta bring it down. But that to me, that's what listening to your body means, right? So you just have to do the things that or adjust as your body is telling you to adjust.
No, that's smart, and I'm glad you talked about like that. Yeah, looking at the heart rate, and because again, with this heat, I mean, pace goes out the window, really, in terms of, because what intensity your body's working at is going to be determined by fluid loss, by how hot it is.
Yeah.
You mentioned a little bit about hydration. How are you managing that? Like,
so I have an electrolyte mix, and the brand is escaping me right now. But my wife is like super like clean. Everything's got to be like she does just a really good job of getting us quality supplements, and I highly trust her opinion. So she's got us this like super high quality electrolyte supplement, and that'll be beforehand. And I'll fill up like my big Camelback thing. I want to say it's like maybe 42 ounces, and I'll have like half of that before, and then half of it will be for after, and it's got 2 scoops of that concoction in it. And it's super good. I think it's like strawberry lemonade.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
You don't wear your Camelback when you run, though?
No, not yet. Not yet. But I'm thinking as I get like further into some serious distance, that and I don't want to. I hate the idea of carrying stuff.
Right.
So I know like a lot of guys carry water bottles and stuff, but yeah. So I'm been looking at REI for some sort of hydration running kit that I can throw on my back.
Yeah, that's kind of like, it's like you can either pick a route and carry something with you, or have some sort of loop system, by your house with water sitting outside.
Yeah.
What about your shoes? Anything different there? Or
well, yeah, actually, so that's super important, right? And I don't think a lot of runners give their shoes enough credit, especially in the Army. When we're just used to like getting handed something at basic training, we're like, "This is it. This is what you're gonna run in." But yeah, I got new shoes specifically for train up, and I'll transition into probably new shoes not right before the race, but I'll have a couple runs before. But I like ultras because I'm a bigger dude, so I've got to be a little bit cautious about the amount of impact that I put on my feet. So they've got a really good cushion, and I like the way that they have their toe box set up. So it's like my toes have got real room to spread out. So I think that just feels good to me. It's got a nice ride, and yeah, it's something that I've been running in for a while, and I actually think they're kind of. I don't want to say a zero drop, but it's a very minimalist.
Right. It's not
yield to toe ratio. Yeah.
No. Okay. So you have your specific shoes, and you've been wearing those shoes kind of before, so you're just.
Yeah. So I've been training in running in ultras for a couple of years now. I used to be a Brooks guy, but I've moved.
You've
on.
moved to the wider.
Sorry, Brooks.
Wider toe box.
The wider toe box makes a difference.
It does. What about being a bigger guy, squatting? I know, stuff like that. Friction, clothing. Are you doing anything to mitigate that in terms of like use any what is it, like Body Glide? Or things like that?
So yeah, because you do squats all the time, your thighs get big.
Right.
And yeah, that's a thing. They rub together. So yeah, Body Glide in between there is definitely important. Definitely important.
I feel like that's. I wanted to mention that because I feel like that's another one that. Especially for the bigger runners.
Exactly. And you don't like. I actually had a conversation in REI with a dude. I was actually getting a bike, and we were having this conversation. It's like, hey, you're getting a bike, you're gonna move your legs, things are gonna rub, and it's humid. And I was like, no, I'll be fine. it's whatever. It's, I'm good. No,
No,
no, that's not. You need it. You 100% need it. If you're a big dude and you like to, or a big person that
Right.
squats and has volume on your legs and
Yeah,
your legs rubbed together.
if you are a regular squatter,
yeah,
right, or just have like large thighs, then yeah, you're gonna have to use something to address that, or it's gonna be painful.
it is. It's super super painful.
So that's good. Speaking of that, so I asked you before, so nobody thinks I'm putting you on the spot. Like, will you share like your body weight like right now? It's like what's the?
Yeah, I am 235 pounds. Yeah, I'd like to say I've twisted steel and sex appeal, but
Just all muscle, raw muscle.
raw,
We
just
could, raw muscle. So
no,
so
actually.
is part of your plan to drop weight, or are you gonna?
Yeah, so I think a certain amount. Like obviously, I probably 225. I think is a reasonable place to be at about December. I actually don't think that I want to go any lower because I like to say like my intent is to be this like hybrid athlete that can lift heavy and have a frame that supports heavy weight, and then also be able to run some endurance events later. So yeah, I don't really want to lose too much weight, and I haven't really set like a goal, but like thinking about it out loud right now, I think 225 is probably reasonable. And it'll probably feel a little bit better to kind of drop some lbs before a long run.
10 pounds will make a difference.
Yeah,
that'll.
It does.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah. Once upon a time, when people go to Iraq, they just like lift all the time and they just want to get huge. That was me once upon a time, and I got to like 250 and just like muscle. And then when I went to do a 2-mile run for my APFT, I was like, "What is this? This is terrible."
It's still, yeah. I explain that to soldiers many times. Like, even if it's pure muscle, you still got to move it.
Yeah.
Still mass you have to
Yes.
move. It's still a cardiovascular strain. So it's not going to help. Yeah, your aerobic performance even if it's solid muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how has your nutrition changed for this? Or have you started to look at that at all? Or?
Yeah, I did. So not much,
Right.
but since all my runs are happening in the morning, I wanted to be like super mindful about what I had before I went on a run. Right, like I need to make sure that there's fuel in my body in order to sustain me for miles that I have not yet like logged. So I definitely knew that I didn't want to be fasted. So I started doing overnight oats. And I found a recipe on Instagram, something super simple, just a half a scoop of oats, half a cup of coconut milk, and then some protein, a little bit of whey protein, like a half a serving, and then some Greek yogurt with either blueberries or strawberries or whatever. Yeah, so nothing big. Not even filled up an 8-ounce mason jar. It's probably like 6 ounces of that. It's just something to put in the body before fuel me for performance. So that's what I do beforehand. Give that an opportunity to kind of like digest. Still take my athletic greens every morning too. So additional vitamins, minerals, and stuff like that in there. And then about like half hour, 45 minutes later, I'm off and running to do either recovery or some sort of speed work or something.
What time in the morning is this?
So I get up at 4:30.
Woo.
Yep, gotta rise and grind. Gotta get after it. And to me, that was something that I knew that I would be able to do regularly and still be able to make the mileage requirements before I had to go to work, right? Because people still got to go to work, right? So get up, fuel really fast, put the running shoes on, have a couple like thoughts, because like 4:30 in the morning is early. Like I don't care who you are.
Oh yeah, it's early.
And you're sitting there. And I'm like, I'll be sitting there on my couch looking at my running shoes and be like, oh, I gotta do this.
Yeah.
I gotta do this. And yeah, it's rough, but you just do it and you get out. but yeah, it works. So that's the only thing that really has changed in my nutrition, just because I wanted to make sure that I had something in my belly to fuel me while I was running.
And so far because you're how many weeks in or to your training program? Probably?
So I'm 3 weeks into this my program that I've built.
Okay, and you so weight's maintaining right now.
Yep.
Say.
Yep. No
Probably,
no change in body fat or body weight.
But the farthest you've done is a 10K.
Yes.
Currently.
Furthest I've done was a 10K, and before that I was doing. I did 5 miles that first week, and then 6 miles just under 6 miles the next. Slowly introducing mileage.
No, smart. And then so far, no strains, sprains, everything.
No, I feel good, feel strong. I really liked like the idea of the recovery run. I feel is really doing a lot for my body. Just because you're just getting out and running, right? Mm-hmm. It's nothing fast, it's nothing hard. It's just super simple, but it's getting your body used to the volume. And I felt super strong and capable in that 10K. And it was kind of caught me by surprise because I am not used to running that distance at all, not even close. So I still felt really, really good. And then I also spend a lot of time prepping myself before a run too. So, just start running.
Yeah. So what do you do before you start running?
I got a hip halo by Crossover Symmetry. Mm-hmm. So I do a lot of hip glute work prior to. Really want to make sure that I activate all those muscles to be able to keep me stable in my running form. And then I'll do a lot of the stuff out of FM 7-22, a lot of the running drills, stuff like that. That stuff works. And it helps reinforce the running form that I need to have in order to, manage the amount of weight that I've got. Like I need to be smart. I can't be heel striking. So I've got to ensure that my stride is strong and it's supported by well turned on muscles, I guess.
So yeah, you're doing a good probably. And how long does that take you? You do 10?
Yeah, 10 minutes.
So 10 minutes before every run,
mm-hmm.
you're doing your hip circles. You're activating the abductors, adductors, and then you're doing the drills in FM 7-22, kind of the running drills mm-hmm. or like that. Yep. And then boom, you hit your run.
Yep.
Come back in from your run. What are you doing?
I am. So I do a lot of down regulation, just sit and chill. If anybody's ran for long distance, you get a lot of running thoughts. So I just like to give myself an opportunity to sit with a lot of those reflections that I have during my run and process them, either put a plan together. I just recently started a voice memo. So after a long run where I have a lot of deep running thoughts, I'll get the voice memo out and be like, hey, today on Running Thoughts, and do my own podcast for myself, which has been nice because you get to go back and reflect on those thoughts that you had. Sometimes they're for training, sometimes they're for different nutrition tips, sometimes they're just life stuff, and you get to resolve a lot of personal stuff while you're thinking on your long runs. So I'll just sit and just chill and breathe and find my breath, allow my heart rate to kind of calm down, and then I'll start stretching.
And then how long is your stretch routine take?
Stretch routine's probably, it's probably not as long as it should be, mm-hmm. But 5 minutes, I try to make sure that I get as much out of that as I can. But at that time, I'm looking at my clock and I'm oh, okay, all right.
I gotta get ready for work.
I gotta actually be an adult right now. So,
what advice would you give to the folks listening to this who are hey, maybe I want to do a marathon or half marathon? Where to start?
Well, so be realistic and be honest with yourself about where you're at and about what you know and don't know. I think that was my thing. I don't know anything about training for a marathon, so I researched it. and looked up as much as I could about what I needed to do in order to train well. That's where I found Nick Bear. That's when I heard from a friend that Nike has training stuff on their running app, which, if you're it just makes it easy, right? Because you got the programmer right there in the app, and then it also controls your run for you, so it allows you to see your pace, heart rate, and everything like that. And then in some of the runs, if you follow the programming, they're guided. So there's a coach, so like an actual running coach that's like talking to you about what the intention of that run is. And I found it super helpful when I was doing my speed work because it managed the intervals for you. So you don't have to like worry about looking at your watch to see what time it is.
You've got your headphones in, you're listening to it, and he's
Yep.
like, all right, breathe, or he or she's like, breathe. Okay, time to go.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, and then yeah, so like I said, I don't have to worry about my watch or anything like that, so it's nice. So I was doing a lot of research and looking up what I needed to do in order to be successful and figuring out how that would work for me and my routine. And then I was like, okay, I can realistically implement this stuff, and then you just start, like, it's all like SMART goals, right? You talk about SMART goals all the time in the Army, and how you have to make them, realistic and measurable, and yeah. So that's what I did, because I wanted to make sure that I was like, if I say I'm going to do the thing, I want to make sure that I do it.
Yeah, now everybody knows.
Yeah,
you
now-
got it.
yeah, now it's out
every
there.
December 4th,
Yeah.
we're going to be out there in mass.
Hell yeah, let's go. I'm excited. But yeah, that would be my biggest tip to anybody, because you don't want to go into it with any ego, thinking that you know everything, because you don't. It's just reality. There's always something additional that you can learn to help make your training better, to help ensure that you're not getting hurt or not doing it the right way.
No, that is smart and solid advice, and hopefully folks are taking note. And I owe you some nutrition information on that, which I will get. And if it's okay, maybe I'll overlay it in the show notes of kind of like, hey, this is what I think. We'll
Yeah.
use you as an example of like.
No, that would be great. Because again, another thing that I did before I decided that I was going to run a marathon was I found a friend that knew a lot about nutrition, and I was like, "Hey, sir, I'm getting ready to do this really dumb thing, and I know that you know a lot about fueling your body for performance."
I try. I don't know if a lot, but yeah. So we're going to put together a plan for Sergeant Bullis, and then if we can share that, then when you first approached me about this, and that's why we're doing this episode, is I was like, there's probably a lot of soldiers or a lot of people who listen to this think about doing a marathon. So
Yeah.
why not just say, hey, here's somebody who's thinking about doing a marathon. Everybody knows him, and what. How he approaches it, and there's a lot to be gleaned from that and learn from that. And now you got me like thinking I should try a marathon. I've never done a marathon.
I've never done one either.
I'm a little scared, but
Oh,
we'll
yeah,
see.
me too. But it's gonna be okay. We're gonna get through it.
We'll get through it. But stay tuned on that. Maybe we'll see. I mean, December 4th. Could I be ready by December 4th?
Absolutely. 100%. I saw you
100%.
working out in the heat the other day. You look great.
Well, I was jumping rope. So that's the key. It was funny what you said about the turnaround.
Yeah.
Like they get that's my fear, because I've went for a run before, because I like my sleep so much.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't do the 4:30 thing. So as soon as I get off work, so I'm usually working at like 5:30, 5 o'clock. So it's like hot. It's really hot.
Real hot.
And which is a dumb time to run, but I've tried it. And what I've had is I have to kind of do the walk of shame back to my house, because I'll go out hot, like oh, I'm feeling good, and then that monkey jumps on my back,
Yeah.
and I got to walk home because I'm like,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna have a heat stroke.
Yeah.
So what I found is, like, I'm taking the easy way out. I jump rope, because I can go hard jumping rope, but if you go too hard jumping rope, I can step in the garage, get a little shade,
Yeah.
drink some water, cool off.
Yeah.
But that would be the most, I think, the challenge for me training, besides just the miles itself, is I'd have to get up early. I'd have to get up really early to run. 'Cause
That's good though.
that's
It's good. It's good to do things that take you out of your normal routine, right? You got to challenge the mind. That's important.
feel like-
Develop resilience.
I feel like my 3-year-old challenges my mind enough as is. I don't know if that threshold, but it's good. Any closing thoughts or anything you want to wrap up with, or?
And I think, honestly, when I'm reflecting back on why I chose to pursue this, I want this for everybody, right? Because this is important for everybody to have an opportunity to go, what am I doing right now, and what can I do to make myself better? And what challenges do I need to put in front of me in order to make myself better, right? Because this, yes, it's training for a marathon, but what you have to do to adjust your routine in order to change or to train for a marathon prepares you for life in so many various ways, right? You get more resilience, you get more disciplined, and those two things alone will help set you up for success in whatever it is that you choose to do. So whatever endeavors you choose to pursue, make sure they're hard. And that challenge your mind and body in some way that can progress you through life.
No, I love it. Thank you so much for coming on. Again, it's always a pleasure. The key to today's episode: do hard things,
Yes.
but do them smartly.
Yes.
Prepare for them.
Yes.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Fuel the Fight podcast. Go on. What is it? Apple Podcasts. Go on Spotify. Subscribe, like, give us some stars. I like the little stars. I just noticed we have some stars. A few people gave us stars. I'd like to have more stars.
And 10K
so please do
followers.
that.
Let's go.
10,000 followers. We're trying to get them Mops and Mo's numbers. I don't know if we'll ever get them. But thank you again. That's all we have for today. Until next time.